Welcome to my presentation on next-gen fiber access technologies and why the opportunity is now. My name is Julie Kunstler, and I'm Chief Analyst at Omdia, covering broadband access infrastructure. Communication service providers, or CSPs, or operators, really must seize the opportunity to build, expand, and upgrade their fiber access networks, focusing on PON technologies. What's driving the opportunity is ever-increasing bandwidth demand from residential and enterprise subscribers, the need to control 5G small cell xHaul transport costs, such as wireless backhaul, PON's capital and operational efficiencies, and their smooth upgrade path to next-generation technologies, along with the ability to consistently and continuously reuse that ODN infrastructure, and the goal of unified fiber access network, really simplifying operations while improving quality of experience. PON's success has been expanding beyond FTTH, enabling a wide range of operators to support diverse customer types and applications. Historically, PON was used for fiber to the home and really a best efforts situation. And for some operators, many years ago, beginning to future-proof their network. We have certainly seen PON's role expand, along with the ability for it to move to higher and higher bandwidths, such as 10 gig, which can support beyond fiber to the home, such as enterprise services, transport. We've seen many new types of operators, what we call the overbuilders, adopt PON very rapidly. Many of them have chosen to use 10 gig to build larger and larger pipes to support more and more retailers. And finally, we're seeing the goal of single fiber access networks. We've certainly heard a lot about fixed mobile convergence at the services layer, but now we're really seeing it at the network layer, the desire for operators to try to have as much traffic as possible on a single fiber access network. There's many ways to measure PON success. One way is to look at the number of shipments of PON equipment since Omdia began tracking back in 2008. Another way is to look at the number of new vendors entering the PON equipment space, coming into it from different areas such as metro edge, switching and routing, and cable equipment. We've also seen very rapid deployment of next-gen PON. The figure shows the movement to next-gen PON in terms of revenues for both OLTs and ONTs compared to older PON equipment. So let's take a step back and talk about why PON. What are some of PON's advantages, and how do those advantages impact the business side of an operator's access network plans? PON's point-to-multipoint approach definitely provides space savings for fiber terminations. As one operator explained to me, in a crowded urban area, if you had to terminate with point-to-point solutions, you would need a football-size arena to do so. With PON, you can really look at it being the size of a locker room. So there's significant space savings, which also translates to energy savings. But in addition, the P in PON stands for passive. PON's approach also enables reuse of that expensive fiber cabling plant for different types of customers and applications. That fiber plant can also be used for point-to-point cabling when necessary. PON has supported wholesalers, retailers, and mixed types of operators. You can choose to upgrade the network equipment in your PON network before upgrading your residential or subscriber side. There's built-in security across the network stack. We've begun to see some operators use innovative approaches to reduce the number of subscribers or users on a PON network by reducing their split ratios by removing splitters. And finally, there's a very strong PON ecosystem. There's been a lot of work done on interoperability between different types of vendors, and we're seeing software-defined access enter the PON equipment space. Residential drivers for PON are very, very strong. We've seen it become accelerated because of the pandemic. The bandwidth demand continues to grow. And it's not just about bandwidth, it's also about lower latency, minimal jitter, and the ability to control bursty video. More and more operators are offering 1 gig services just as a basic competitive advantage, whether or not subscribers need it right now or whether they even take that service offering right now. So one can really see the growth in bandwidth demand by the subscriptions that we are forecasting. This figure is on a global basis. There's also non-residential drives that are moving us to next-gen PON, specifically enterprises and xHaul. So on the enterprise side, we're seeing the use of PON and specifically next-gen PON to support enterprise services, being able to offer up to 8.5, 8.6 symmetrical bandwidth on a 10 gig PON network. For transport, we have seen over the years PON being used for wireless backhaul. But macro cells really had minimal use or limited use for PON, given the number of macro cells, their locations, and how much bandwidth was needed. But now as 5G comes into play with more and more small cells associated with 5G, some operators are beginning to deploy PON to support 5G transport, such as wireless backhaul. The use of PON beyond residential can significantly improve return on investment and reduce that payback time from how much it costs to build the underlying ODN, that optical distribution network, in the first place. From operator interviews, we're seeing stronger and stronger demand, desire, objectives to reuse the network for as much traffic types, as many different traffic types as possible. And constantly going back to the ability that PON has to be upgraded and to be upgraded based upon the operator's choice of where and when to upgrade the central office or the head end or a remote location. So we're seeing a strong shift to fiber in developed countries. There's significant investment right now in fiber-based access network infrastructure in Europe, in North America, in countries in Asia Pacific. There's acceptance that fiber access is needed for both wireline and wireless networking. Let's remember that wireless traffic, wireless data is offloaded to wireline as soon as possible. Different operators are definitely facing different challenges regarding fiber access networks, such as labor costs, zoning laws, regulations. But the cost of fiber access is continuing to decline, while the goal of unified access networking is gaining mindshare. We're also seeing a strong shift to fiber in developing countries. Some of this began to happen more than 10 years ago, as the cost of upgrading older copper or coax networks was just really costly, and sometimes the copper would be stolen. Numerous countries are developing and deploying fiber access networks, taking advantage of their lower labor costs at times, low-cost financing options, and PON's infrastructure use for non-residential subscribers and traffic often enables those operators to then offer the fiber network to residential users that pay lower tariffs. Numerous cable operators in developing countries are actually skipping costly DOCSIS upgrades, such as those to 3.0 or 3.1, and are moving straight to fiber access using PON. And numerous telcos sort of look at the fiber access network as almost like a land grab opportunity, that the operator that first comes in and builds a very good fiber access network has the large pipe and has the opportunity to really take advantage of the ownership of the fiber access network for themselves, and if they're a wholesaler, for numerous retail customers that they might have, or if they're both, using it themselves and wholesaling that network. Thank you very much.